Okay, Ali Vitale, we have, again, some fresh blood here. I want to get all your thoughts. Ali, you've spent a lot of time on the trail this year. A lot of time with suitcases and in hotel rooms covering candidates in the Republican primary. And I think a lot of people, as much as a race has not been called, are digesting what is happening right now. Yeah. What light can you shed on what is happening within the country, what people perhaps have missed about some of these margins that Steve is walking us through?
I think, to me, yes, the story was written in part in the 2020 Republican primary, or 2024 Republican primary, when voters were given a slate of alternative candidates. They were given senators. They were given former UN ambassadors. And they said, no, we're good. Thank you so much. We like the guy that we have been with the past 8 years. But I actually think the arc of this story actually starts when I got on the campaign trail in 2015. It hasn't just been this year that I've been logging miles. It's actually been for the last 8 years. And the story in 2015 and 16 was sort of the surprise rise of Trump, the way he remade the Republican Party. You and I were working on various sides of that at different points throughout that primary and general election. 2020 then seemed like the reassessment moment. Does America want to continue this? Does he know how to work the levers of bureaucracy during a massive national event like a pandemic? And then 2024 should have been a re-reckoning, but instead, it's like January 6th wasn't playing in the minds of voters. And I think that there was a real nostalgia factor for Trump. Maybe people were thinking of a pre-pandemic time. But then the fact that he was also deplatformed off of places like Twitter, where he typically sowed his chaos and where people were like, oh, yeah, I remember this guy actually has a lot to say at really weird hours of the night. And I don't know that I love that a president or a presidential candidate is doing that. Instead, he went quiet, and I think people were able to forget. And to me, the first sign of that was in our NBC News poll back in October, where it showed a retroactive job approval rating for him of 48%. That White House would have been jonesing for those numbers at the time. The fact that they were getting them then, I think, to me, was an early light bulb of, okay, people are metabolizing his legacy differently now. And that's this.
Nostalgia factor is such an interesting part of this story. I mean, and again, if this race is called for him, there's only been one other president, Grover Cleveland, who ran on non-consecutive terms and won, which it's very strange that Donald Trump could be the second. The strange is the only way I can describe it. You're the only person sitting with us here who's actually run for office and won. What have you, as we're digesting all of this data, all these exit polls, all of these margins that are surprising, disappointing to some, what are your big takeaways from what we know so far?
Number one, just to pick up on something that Ali said, look, I think Trump helped that along, right? If he has a superpower, it's marketing. In every single speech over the last few years, he would say, we had the greatest economy. We had the greatest economy. And I think a lot of people really believed that in the end. And they remembered those times more fondly probably than they were, right? And compared that to high inflation over the last couple of years. So there's that. I think it's an extraordinary comeback. I don't know if we can call it the greatest American political comeback, but certainly it is an extraordinary comeback. And I think this calls into question a lot of the identity politics, right? Traditional identity politics. That's going to this election is going to help rewrite. Well, I mean, take the Latino community, right? There's still a majority, according to exit polls, for Democrats. I think it's 53-45. That's just one exit poll, so you can't put all of your stock in that. But it's clear that he made significant gains, right? And so this is going to rewrite, I think, how the parties approach Latinos and other groups. And then the last thing I would say is I do think that we have to reckon with the deeper forces that play a role. What role does misogyny play? What role does still existing racism or bias play? It seems like these days we almost don't want to ask those questions as much. And I think that's part of the problem that allows somebody like Donald Trump to get elected.
No, we have to ask the questions. I think that's one of the things I think everybody should reflect on. Anthony Coley, a lot of people are going to say this is a messaging problem, which to me, it's much bigger than that. It's not about words on a page. Right. You have had the Forrest Gump of jobs in administrations, and not to give everybody your bio, but you've worked in Southern politics. You were the communications director at the Department of Justice, also the Department of Treasury. You know, I just want to pull off of something you just said here, which is very interesting. Is Donald Trump went out and said the economy is great, the economy is great, the economy is great. He kind of ignored data, he ignored reality. Democrats often get fragile in some ways, in a good way. You could argue about being accurate. That's good. Accurate is good, but about how they describe the state of things, right? What are you, as you're looking at that particular big question, what is your takeaway in this moment? I know we're all digesting what we know at this point.
Well, the secretary just described essentially was Trump making this a referendum on the incumbent party. And I think back to the last presidential campaign that you and I worked on together. That was 2004. It was Kerry, right? And what George W. Bush did effectively was not make the race a referendum on him, but he made it a choice between two distinct visions, two distinct ideologies. And that's how George W. Bush won re-election. And that's the same thing that happened with Barack Obama after 9/11 happened. So the issue here, I think, if she ends up not getting over the top, is that she did not separate herself from Joe Biden enough. And she allowed Donald Trump to really make this race a referendum on the entire campaign. I will say one moment where this crystallized for me, and I've seen you report on this, it was her interview on The View.
Yeah.
Do you remember this? Okay. Where she was asked by Sunny Hostin if she could name would she do anything differently? And the vice president said she couldn't. She circled back a little later and said that she would add a Republican to the party. And I think when you step back and look at NBC's own right track, wrong track number, 72% of the country believe that the country is headed in the wrong direction. And she got saddled with that if she ends up not being able to
It was
pull this out.
her answer did get better. I did, that moment did stick out to me as well. It did get better over time. It was very tricky to figure out how to walk the tightrope you're talking about, which we'll come back to.
Well, she was a loyalist to Joe Biden. And that's what, and I give her credit for that. But it was in Joe Biden's interest for her to create some distance.